All right. Happy Easter, everybody. Sorry about the delay, and I'm going to tweet this out very quickly so everybody can get online and know that I'm here. Thanks for subscribing as I'm getting used to this whole YouTube game. It was fun the first time, should be even more fun this time. All right. I am live to talk. And we're there. Okay, cool. Four people on already. Chat is open. Happy Easter. I got some pizzas back on the counter there to grill here in a little bit, so that's going to be a lot of fun. My grandma and my dad are here. They just went on a walk. My mom is skiing, so she'll be here shortly. Then we're going to get the grill fired up. I'm going to try to get it up to 750, 800 degrees. We have the Neapolitan pizza ingredients ready to go, so I'm super stoked about that. Went on a run this morning. Might go into the lake this afternoon with the wetsuit, of course, but the problem is that it's 44 degrees in the lake, so even with the wetsuit, it's freezing. That does make you feel really, really good. Hi from the Czech Republic. Dobrý den. Jak se máte? Nevěděl jsem, že budu mluvit česky na tady tom, ale mám trochu přízvuk, ale umím mluvit česky. Já jsem nečekal, že tady bude někdo z České republiky. Ale to je legrace. Už se těším zase do Prahy. That was in Czech, so we're back to English now. I follow a couple people who are big NFL fans in the Czech Republic, and it's awesome. It helps me work on my Czech because they talk about the 49ers in Czech, which is one of the most complicated languages that you could possibly imagine, and it's just so cool to see chats about the 49ers in Czech, and it really helps me sharpen my skills in a way that I did not think would be possible. I actually did a story in hockey covering the Sharks in the offseason of the 49ers a couple years ago, where as different Czech players and Slovakian players from the entire NHL came through San Jose, I was able to sit down and interview them for one big piece about the hockey legacy of the Czech Republic, which is fascinating history. If anybody's interested in that, I should tweet that out again at some point. That was one of the most personal pieces I got to do. It was just such a cool experience, and all those guys were so accommodating and so cool. And I got to meet, the majority of them in the NHL at a time in history. I don't think it's the case anymore. The Czech Republic had more NHL players per capita than any other country except for Canada in the world. That's how big of a deal hockey is over there. So football, not as big of a deal, but there are some Czech 49ers fans. Maybe I've helped influence that, maybe not, but either way, I follow a couple of them on Twitter, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, 49ers questions. Do you guys have any? I don't have as long today, but I'll be traveling here a bit this week. I'm going to be in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, kind of going down the coastline there, or up the coastline, I guess. So I wanted to do one of these before I hit the road for a few days. I'll still be working. Got a couple of really, really exciting pieces coming this week. One, I think it might not be possible, but I think will give you a new perspective on the 49ers quarterback situation and that number 3 pick. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think I have something new. I think we're going to have a new angle on things, at least. It should be a fantastic conversation, and it's going to be up on The Athletic. There's people chatting, but you guys aren't asking questions, so I'll just keep on talking. Today is the last day that you can hop onto The Athletic for $1 a month. So I will send a link. In fact, I'll do it right now. This is my 49ers salary cap story. If you go to the chat right now and you see that link, you could sign up to The Athletic for $1 a month. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people capitalize on this sale. I haven't seen anybody that says it's not worth it. So do it right through that link. Would love that. Become part of the community there. There's no better time to sign up for $1 a month than through April right now, because it's going to be wild as this gets going. Okay, finally, some questions. What are the chances of small trade back from 3 to picks 4 or 5? I think the chances are legitimate of that. I don't think it's crazy at all. I brought that up as soon as news of this trade came down the other Friday, that was part of my initial analysis. Like option A was to grab a rookie quarterback at number 3, roll with Jimmy Garoppolo as the starter. I think that's obviously the most likely option. Option B for me was draft the rookie quarterback at number 3 and trade Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think that's as likely just because I think the 49ers really want that veteran presence. Again, this is not black and white. A lot of people will go out and say, oh, I hate Jimmy Garoppolo, start the rookie right away. No, it's possible that Jimmy Garoppolo could be a good quarterback who the 49ers want on the team while they also want to draft a rookie to set themselves up for the future. Look what the Packers did last year. They had Aaron Rodgers on their team and they drafted a rookie. So, I mean, it doesn't have to work in a binary world. They can do both. But that leads me to option C, which is the 49ers can not actually pick with that number 3 pick. They could still pick a quarterback, and I 100% expect them to still pick a quarterback, but they could have traded up just to gain some draft ammunition, to gain some leverage. And these teams, there's going to be a lot of desperate teams trying to go for that number 3 overall pick. And if the 49ers end up liking 5, 6 quarterbacks in this draft, well, all of a sudden you have the luxury of moving down a couple spots, especially if somebody else is willing to pay a premium for one of those picks. So I don't think it's likely, but I think it's a lot more possible than the mainstream media is making it out to be. I don't think it's 3 and done for the 49ers. They pick at 4 or 5 and they could recoup some draft capital. I mean, what a win that could be for this team. So, no absolutes. I think everything is on the table, including something like that. What's my honest opinion on Mac Jones? I'm going to have a lot better opinion on Mac Jones after this week because I am delving deep into the film and talk. I have a lot of conversations scheduled for this week. Right now, I have cursory knowledge of this kind of stuff. I hate to be the person who has to be out there talking about it first. Acting like an expert on so-and-so quarterback and this and that. I put this tweet out about a week ago. I like to bide my time, let the dust settle because it was wild. And I am going to be watching, and I promise that I'll have my opinions on Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, whoever you want here over the course of the next week after I formulate an opinion. It was just too wild here over the first week. Too many people yelling at each other. No real substantive discussion. It's like, guys, the draft is on April 29th. I'm pretty sure that the 49ers are handling this with caution and with patience. Kyle Shanahan himself has said we have a whole month now to be able to make the right decision. That involves potentially trading back a spot. Who knows? You can't rule any of this out. So many people always want to be the first to say that I called this quarterback or I called it the 49ers would do this. And guess what? You might guess right. You might guess right, but you might also guess wrong, and then that looks really bad. So just wait. Let's just see what they're going to do here over the course of the month, and I'll gather some intelligence on the quarterbacks as we get going. Let's see. Next question. I'm just kind of doing a grab bag here. There's a lot coming in. Do you think Garoppolo requested trade? I don't think so. I think that the relationship between Jimmy and the 49ers has always been businesslike and advantageous for both parties. It currently still is advantageous for both parties. The 49ers, again, I'm going to put that link, $1 a month. It's back in the chat. The 49ers set this up financially so that if it ended up being feasible, and it is financially feasible now, and it will be feasible if they don't get offered too much in a trade, right? They set this up financially to carry both Jimmy Garoppolo and the presumptive number 3 pick on their roster. They have enough money. That article that I just put there in the chat tells you everything you need to know about what Parag Marathe and his team did to make sure that the 49ers could roll with both. And that's because it's advantageous for them to have 2 or maybe even 3 if Josh Rosen gets his act together, 3 very capable quarterbacks on this roster. We saw what the lack of quarterback depth in 2018 and 2020 did to this team, and it wasn't pretty. And then you go back even, before this whole situation where the 49ers will try to carry, very legitimate quarterback depth. You go back to 2017, you go back to 2018, 2019, obviously 2020. It's been a year-by-year thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers initially signed his year initially signed his deal as a 2-year commitment. And then from that point forward, it was a year by year, essentially option exercise of his contract. And it's made sense for both parties to stay in this agreement. It still makes sense for both parties to stay in this agreement. Now, if the 49ers are blown away by a trade offer, if they get an unreal amount of draft capital in return for Jimmy Garoppolo right now, of course they're going to think about what that could do for their team if they did make such a trade. Kyle Shanahan has said this outright. But even in that scenario, they would still have to hope that whoever they pick at number 3 or 4 or 5 or wherever they pick, whichever rookie comes in, you would have to hope and that he's the real deal. And guys that are picked, even in the first round, even number 1, are not always the real deal. It's something like a 50% hit rate in round 1, which is not a lot. If that's a math test, you're getting an F. So that's why they want Jimmy Garoppolo on this team, because it elevates the floor, right? No matter what you do with your quarterback of the future, it elevates the floor. And it also gives some nice competition anxiety. Steve Young, Joe Montana. I mean, 49ers history is example A of what strengthening the quarterback room could do for your team. Niners brought in Steve Young. Joe Montana hated it. Steve Young didn't like the fact that he was being graded against Joe Montana, but Joe Montana turns around, wins 2 more Super Bowls, and then Steve Young is very much more ready to win a Super Bowl of his own to close the 1994 season. So we might still see the best football from Jimmy Garoppolo in a 49ers uniform moving forward, and that can only be good for whomever the 49ers might pick. So I don't think he requests to be traded, because I think that it's an amenable situation for both sides. Jimmy Garoppolo likes the paychecks that will be coming this year if he's not traded, and the 49ers can afford them. Here's the catch: is the best podcast, hands down. Comment from Azul. I agree with you. Check out our latest episode of Here's the Catch. I could also tweet that out, or I always say tweet because I'm used to tweeting, but I could also copy and paste that here. Can I explain in more detail how the veteran exception contract works? Yes. So subscribe for $1 a month. It is explained in full detail in that article that I linked in the chat. But the veteran contract exception basically works like this. And this is how the 49ers got so much value out of free agency this year. To qualify for the veteran exception, you have to have at least 4 years in the league. So any player who's been in the league for 4 accrued seasons, is what they call it, qualifies for a veteran contract exception. So Trent Sherfield, the receiver the 49ers signed, who was on the Cardinals before, he's only been in a league for 3 years. So he doesn't qualify for the veteran contract exception. The other guys the 49ers got, and I'm reading off a list here in my article, Dante Johnson, Tavon Wilson, Jaquaski Tart, Nathan Jerry, Mohamed Sanu, and Zach Kerr. All of those players have been in the league at least 4 years. So they all qualified for the veteran contract exception. Now, what the veteran contract exception does is it allows you to pay a base salary to the player at whatever his qualifying league minimum is. Now, the qualifying league minimum, it changes depending on how long a player has been in the league. From 4 to 6 years of experience, it's $990,000. From 7+ years, it's $1.075 million. So depending on how long the guy's been in the league, so a player like Sanu would be $1.075 million. A player like Jordan Willis, only 4 to 6 years, would be $990,000. You can pay him that base salary, but his cap hit is only going to be the base salary of a player who's been in the league for 2 seasons, and that is $850,000. Now, the other asterisk there is that you have to give him at least $137,000 and $137,500 of any kind of bonus. It could be a signing bonus, it could be a roster bonus, or it could actually be a bonus that could only be achieved through incentives. And then that player will count as less against the cap, even though he's getting more money. That's what the veteran salary exception is. Now, the problem is here, it's only going to fit a certain group of players. So say you got DJ Jones. DJ Jones has a deal worth $3.5 million. That's way over the league minimum. For him, it would be $990,000. DJ Jones would never take a veteran salary exception deal because he was going to make more on the market than that. So that's why the 49ers got him for $3.5 million. And only certain players they were able to get on the veteran salary exception. Surprisingly, they got Jaquiski Tartt on it, so they kept his cap hit low. Dante Johnson, that's probably one that you would expect. I think surprisingly, the 49ers got their new defensive tackle, Zach Kerr, on the veteran salary exception. He was one of the best graded defensive tackles in football last season for the Carolina Panthers. Zach Kerr is a guy to look out for. I mean, the film is good. The grades are good. He didn't see, not a 500-600 snap guy, but in 330 snaps, he was really well graded and he rushed the passer really effectively. That is invaluable depth, and the 49ers even gave him a bit of a signing bonus, which means they expect him to make the 53-man roster. Let's see, a couple more before I have to get going here. Any chance the Jets trade out to someone who takes the quarterback the Niners want? Yeah, that's possible. But, it sounds like they really want Zach Wilson based on what Steve Young has reported. Obviously, I think he would be connected in that situation more than the average reporter or person, just because of the BYU connection to Zach Wilson. So if the Jets go that way, unless they're, playing possum here and they're just waiting in the bushes to trade, I don't see that happening. And then you would have to hope that the 49ers have more than one target who might work with them. You've suggested a trade up back into the first round or higher in the second round is likely. I didn't say it was likely. I said it was very possible. If so, who's the target? Cornerback seems obvious, but could you see another position? Yeah, I could see another edge rusher on this team, to be honest. I could see another defensive end. I think that you can't obviously count on Dee Ford. I have reported, Matt Barrows and I reported, it was a co-byline story, that Dee Ford is optimistic that he's going to be back. The 49ers are a little less optimistic, but I think they also still are holding out hope that Dee Ford can be back. I don't think that anybody in their right mind can count on Dee Ford being 100% in this season or at all in the rest of his career. I think with Dee Ford, anything that you get is found money. I think with Samson Ebukam, you're getting an edge rusher who's coming off his rookie deal, who was a situational rusher for the Rams over his rookie contract, but he's certainly not, a guy that you're expecting him to be more of a 3-down player, but you're not ready to hand the keys fully over yet. You still want more in that rotation. Even if Samson Ebukam becomes a Pro Bowler this year, I think you still want more in the rotation. And here's why. Back when the 49ers were at their best in 2019, when you had Bosa and Ford firing off the edges, what really made that defensive line, took it from very good to just great, was your Ronald Blairs, right? It was your DeMontre Moores of the world. And I still think the 49ers could use another really quality body like that. And I think they might be eyeing, the draft for that. So I could absolutely see them, especially considering the fact that they have prioritized defensive line and pass rush over secondary throughout, this entire Lynch Shanahan tenure. I could see them turning that 43 pick, moving up a few spots just to nab somebody they really like. I don't know if it's likely. I think it's very possible, because I absolutely think that the 49ers only have 6, maybe 7 tops realistic spots for rookies to grab on the 53-man roster. And when they have 9 draft picks, you could go 2 strategies. You can either try to, the shotgun approach, just grab as many rookies as possible, 9, 10 rookies, counting the undrafted free agents, and, realize that some of these guys will fall through the cracks during camp, and then hope that enough make it to fill the 53-man roster. Or since you have that surplus of draft picks, you could package some to trade up to get a guy that you really like, that will be a contributor on the 53-man roster from the get-go. So there's 2 options there. I just wanted to bring it up as a possibility. Let's see. Garoppolo's trade value higher if he has a full 2021 season? Absolutely. I think if Garoppolo's a full 2021 season behind Alex Mack, Trent Williams, and actually good offensive line and pass blocking, which he hasn't had for a full season, definitely the 49ers didn't have last year. I think that, yeah, of course his trade value is going to be better because you still have one season on that contract at a fair rate. Let's be honest. Something in the mid 20 millions is not exorbitant for quarterbacks these days. These contracts are getting up over $40 million, right? Number 25 million, 26 million, whatever Garoppolo's at, ranks like number 12, number 13 in the NFL. So he plays a full season. It's a good season. Trade value goes up. 49ers win the Super Bowl. He probably doesn't get traded. Let's put that out there. That creates a problem the 49ers would like to have. So this quarterback saga is just in its initial stages. I mean, we knew the 49ers were going to bolster the quarterback room through one avenue or the other. We weren't sure if they were, going to trade for Sam Darnold or if they were going to pick a rookie at number 12 or if they were going to trade up. They ended up employing the most aggressive play with that trade up. And now they potentially will have two, very, very capable quarterbacks on the roster with Sam Darnold, a little slip there with Josh Rosen being the side project for Kyle Shanahan. And we'll see how they go forward. And this thing might take several more twists and turns as we head through the 2021 season. I keep hearing that the cap will be $220 million next year. Do you agree? I have no idea what the cap's going to be. The cap is tied to revenues. Revenues are tied to how many people are in stadiums and how many people watch. And, there's so many different variables that go into all the things that make up what the cap is going to be. Roger Goodell has said he wants full stadiums. If he gets full stadiums, the cap will rebound a lot quicker than people expect it to. All right, one more question, then I got to get going here. We've already been going over 20 minutes. Let's see. I'll next time that we talk, and that's going to be here in the next few days, we're going to start getting into specific draft names. I like to have the full totality of the picture before I start getting into specifics. And I know everybody likes to toss around names these days. Been watching a lot of quarterback stuff lately, and there's a few corners I like. And then the defensive end game is super interesting because it's not a top-heavy market this year. You don't have guys like Chase Young or Nick Bosa that are going to go in the very top 5. So that's why that trade up from 43 is really possible. The 49ers really like somebody. Well, this was fun. Are you surprised Sherman hasn't signed? I think, okay, that's going to be the last question. Richard Sherman's, I think, in a situation where the market's been even softer than people had predicted. This goes hand in hand with what we were talking about with all the 49ers veteran salary exception signings. I don't think that the 49ers, and I know that the 49ers didn't expect to get Jaquiski Tartt back at a cap hit of $990,000 a year. I don't think that they expected to get DJ Jones back. In fact, I also know that they didn't expect to get DJ Jones back at a contract valued at only $3.5 million a year. So that's the case with Richard Sherman, All-Pro, future Hall of Famer. He can bring a lot to a team just from a cerebral aspect. I still think he has some good football left in him, but he's worth more than a veteran salary exception. And the problem right now is that the market has been so soft that only those kind of contracts have been out there. It's been either that or the elite deals, right? You have the floor deals and the elite deals. Obviously, Sherman is somewhere in between. Sherman is no longer at a $13-14 million deal. So now he's just biding his time. I think that needs will arise, especially after the draft. And that may be the best time for Richard Sherman to swoop in. It's also, after the draft, you're going to have money free up for some of these teams because that's going to be after June 1st. So your post-June 1st cut money that teams free up with those post-June 1st releases will become available. That's also why I wouldn't expect Fred Warner's extension until after June 1st, because the 49ers, for example, will free up over $1 million more after that date with Western Richburg's retirement. They've asked him to wait until after June 1st because that helps you shoulder some savings. You get some more savings and you push some of the future dead money out to 2022 when the cap will be in better shape. So I think that Richard Sherman has been a victim of a softer market. I would expect him to sign on with the team maybe a little bit later on this offseason, as soon as that market corrects itself a little bit. And I think maybe that correction will come after the draft. Yeah, I'm going to do a Barrows with my own mock draft. Mine's coming later in April. Anyway, thanks so much for joining, everybody. Again, The Athletic is only $1 only for today. Today is the last day of the sale, so there's the link. Go and sign up, learn about the salary cap, whatever you want to learn about. There's so much good stuff, on there from the other writers, and don't want to just limit it to what we have with the 49ers. You get the whole site for $1. And happy Easter to everybody. Glad that we're doing these now. Glad that the first one was popular, and hopefully we'll build a little bit more of a following here. So everybody have a great Easter. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for everything, and follow along this week. It's going to be another fun one. Take care.